I am super excited to welcome back to the show the one, the only Chad Olson from the Uncharted Taerritory podcast and the Filsinger Games Legends of Wrestling team. Chad, welcome back. We are here to talk about GalactiCon.
Hey, Grant, thank you for having me. I'm excited we get to do this. It's we've had a week to kind of absorb everything and try to recollect everything. So hopefully we can do it justice for those who attended and those who didn't.
Yes, and this is unique because you and I both attended, but on different coasts. So we'll have both perspectives here. Overall, how was your GalactiCon? Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun?
Yeah, I did. I had to go out to Washington, D.C., I guess National Harbor, Maryland for a work conference. So it actually worked pretty well. That started Sunday afternoon. So I reached out to our good friend, Space Commander Pete Beck, and he picked me up and drove me right up there to Honeybrook. And we got there about 3 o'clock or so. Stopped by his house, saw some of the cool memorabilia he has in his little Champions of the Galaxy and Legends Museum, and then grabbed a bite to eat and went up to Honeybrook.
And what is having never been there? What is Honeybrook like?
It's a very long town, like close to the street. Like there's like one highway that goes through there, and all the houses. I mean, it reminded me a lot of towns in the Midwest actually, where maybe there's not a lot going on. But it had some businesses by it. The place we gathered Friday night was it had a driving range, but like a Top Golf. If you've ever been to one of those where you're also trying to hit targets, it had a mini golf. And then as Mr. Tim Dalton was poking around, they actually have a spot of land where they're going to put in park golf.
Oh,
so it was hopping every time we drove by there, and it was certainly busy when we met there Friday night. But I get ahead of myself.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, let's start with Friday night. You went to the Friday night activities. Did you play some golf?
I did not. Pete and I got there, and we were the first ones there. And we asked the young person at the server stand if there's a reservation under Mike or Todd. And she's like, well, there's a big table over there, so I'll just go double check. You guys can wander over there. And she comes back. Well, I think there's a Ted. I go, you sure it's not a Todd? Well, maybe. So yeah, that was our area that had been staked off, and we were the first ones there because between Pete and I, we really like being on time. We have that in common. Our mantra is if you're on time, you're late. So we were there, and then I'm trying to think who started to kind of filter in. Mike Fortune, Kirk Campbell, Ty States, Brock Atkinson, Andy, Sinestro 24. Who else was there? Mike and Todd did get there eventually, but they were running a little late, but they were trying to, put a bow on everything. And we just kind of hung out and chit-chatted. Tim Dalton showed up. He was a surprise. He was working me. He didn't tell anyone he was coming. So that was a pleasant surprise to see one of my besties. And we just hung out and ate. There's baseball playing on, but nobody did any of the actual activities because we were just visiting and talking about the things we like,
Yeah.
And then Mike distributed the new Champions set. So as usually, that kind of quiets people down.
Right. Yeah, well,
how about you?
Yeah, in Burbank, I went over and picked up Tom because Tom was staying at a local hotel here in Burbank, and so I went and picked him up, and we drove over to this place called Guildhall. And Guildhall it's literally right down the street from me, and it's a bar, but it's also, they have this one whole wall that is all just games and just role-playing games, Settlers of Catan, like any like down to Monopoly, any kind of game, they have it on this wall, bananagrams, everything. And you can just take it and you can go. And what I reached out to them and I said, hey, can we kind of reserve an area on, for like this, for an event type thing. I didn't know how many people were going to show up. And they said, They don't do reservations like that, especially on Friday nights. Like you have to, if you want to book an event there, you basically have to rent out the entire the entire place because it's not a huge place.
Right.
But she said that if you get here. If you get here at 6:00, you should be able to find a table, no problem. And so I kind of said to Tom, well, I'll pick you up at 5:30 and then we'll, it's not far. His hotel was not far away from the Guildhall. We'll get there. It'll be fantastic. And we got over there and there was one table left. So I was super glad that we got there when we did. And, the table was sort of in, they have a back patio, which is really nice. But the sun was up. It was a nice, bright, sunny California day. So it was right in the sun because all the other tables. And what I found was there's a lot of people who they have a whole party coming, but they send one person an hour ahead of time to stake out a table. And that's the kind of place that it is. But we were able to get this table. It was really great. And then, the sun was so hot. I was like, I need to go get like my hoodie because I'm just baking in the sun. So I'm not getting a sunburn. And I went out to the car. When I got back, Zeke was there. So Zeke had showed up.
Okay.
And that's all Friday night. That's all it was. It was just Tom, myself, and Zeke. But it was a lot of fun. And, we had food. We had dinner first. And then it was sort of like this weird Christmas type feeling because Tom was like, well, should we have another round of drinks or should we open up the cards? We're like, oh, let's have another round of drinks. So we're kind of putting it off, a little bit more. So it was fun. And then,
I'm proud of you for being patient.
we were very patient. And then finally we wiped down the table and made sure the table was completely clear. And then Tom broke out the sets. He gave us everything that night, like even the con exclusive cards and everything. And then so it was great to kind of sit with him and chat about the characters. And he was very like, well, I don't want to say anything because you haven't read the book yet. And then he would say like, well, I'm excited in my Fed. The first card I'm going to do is well, I don't want to say it because I talk about it in the book.
Right.
And so we just sat there for a while, and then he said, well, do you want to roll out some matches? But we didn't have charts because I didn't think to bring charts. And I thought it was just going to be more of a social thing. I didn't know about playing.
Right.
And then, both Zeke and Tom are like, oh, we have the charts memorized. We have them absolutely memorized. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go find some dice. So I went in and I found, I searched around forever. There were so many games without dice on the wall. And finally, way in the back, I found a Yahtzee that had dice in it. So we brought that out. So we actually played some matches just with the Champions of the Galaxy set there.
Right.
And I noticed that we were getting some, people walking by going, oh, what game are they playing? But nobody stayed to chat. So, and I just want to say the Guildhall was great. I would have preferred to have had a different table, but other than that, it was fine. And once the sun went down, we were, it was gravy. It was no problem. And they have for dessert right now, and I'm not really big on eating a lot of desserts recently, but I could not pass this up. They had deep fried oatmeal pies. So like those oatmeal pies you get at the Star, and then they deep fry it, and then a big scoop of ice cream. And it wasn't huge. It was small. It was amazing. Okay. So Guildhall gets a thumbs up from me. State
Fair food around here.
Yeah.
They like to deep fry things at the Iowa State Fair.
Yeah, for sure. So we had a fun time. What did you go home or back to wherever you were staying and read the book that night? Were you digging into the book before bed?
Oh yeah. I had been up though since 3:30 in the morning to catch my flight. So I was tired. I did fall asleep reading the book in bed, which is something I rarely do. And so I think I got about 4 pages in. And I mean, we hung out there for quite a while. We were there till almost 10 o'clock, I believe. And then where Pete and I stayed was maybe like 15 minutes or so away. And we got back and, kind of settled in and everything. And I was not long for the world because I was near my 24-hour mark there.
Yeah.
But I did. So then the next morning I woke up at my usual early time. and read the rest of the book. So I had proofread the cards for Tom. I don't know if it's the same version that you got with the drafts you won in the auction. Um, so I at least had seen him. I knew who the characters were, except I didn't know anything about them without the book.
Hmm.
So I really I liked it. Um, I wasn't a super big fan of the myth worlds, and you know what? Only because I'm kind of tired of Godsend.
Yeah.
He's like the villain. It's like he's the Skeletor because he's the villain in every episode, every set. It's Godsend. It's like okay, so that kind of soured me. But I read the book and liked this one a little better because I like the superhero motif. I mean, the artwork on both covers, both versions of Hand's book is stunning. I want to get that along with the first one and make a print for that to hang up in my office downstairs. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really enjoying the set. I did I always sit down and I make out a roster page and
Mm-hmm.
I do I set up my Excel spreadsheet for tracking the wins and losses and everything. And I was really going like, how am I going to do this? Because with the things going on with the titles in the
Right.
storyline and everything, and I just decided I'm going to start just a brand new Fed like this because in the
Mm-hmm.
book he talks about how he started with just the Killers Four. Langley started with just the Killers Four and some other athletes and stuff like that. So I was just like,
Right.
I'm just going to start a brand new Fed. I'm going to play about 4 cards, bring in the
Mm-hmm.
Crime Stoppers, play a couple more cards, and then bring in the GWF guys. And that's how I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do it. And then when we find out what happens either at the end of this year or the next year, year or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
I'll decide whether I'm carrying those win and loss streaks over to
Mm-hmm.
to my all-time record or for the Fed or anyway. But I'm
Yeah.
kind of excited because it's kind of fun to just start something completely new and just see what happens. And I've been using Akuma the Ninja because that was a card that
Mm-hmm.
I never used, and then El Hijo de la Cosa because that
Mm-hmm.
was another card I never used. And then the Corona Bug because I won that card
Mm-hmm.
from one of the events. And yeah, so right now I'm looking at kind of for other Champions of the Galaxy cards that aren't tied to timelines. So like
Right.
Totalia was a recent card, but she was trained by Totalis, so she's kind of
Right.
tied to that timeline. But it was actually Matt Iowa Oaks who suggested
Mm-hmm.
those. What was it like the 30th anniversary cards where it was sort of the
I was
alternate versions of
I was just about to say I was just
yeah.
about to say that because I pictured, Commander Sam and especially Conrad Terror not being an alien.
Yeah.
So, you know what? My buddy Matt and I, we're on the same wavelength. Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
it's this
There you go.
it's the 515 area code.
Yeah. So I got to
But
dig out
I
those
watched you.
cards.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I think that would be a cool way to use those cards because, you know, you're probably never gonna. And if you're going to an alternate universe, why not use the alternate universe versions of some guys? Now, maybe the Avenger will be a little jarring if Lord Nexus is there. I don't know if that'll disrupt the continuum, but
Yeah.
I watched your video the other night of your first show, and that was really cool. I enjoyed watching that. I think that's a great idea.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's been a lot of
Mhm.
fun. I'm excited, and I like the idea that they're TV shows, so you can't just have 4 matches or 3 matches or something like that, and it's an hour-long show. So
Mhm.
I think that's fun. Well, let's talk about Saturday morning. What time did you head on over to the venue?
Yeah, so it started. I think it started at 10, maybe 11. I don't know. I got my time zones mixed up. But anyways, Pete and I woke up. We had a delicious breakfast at the courtyard by Marriott that we were staying in, which was very full for a wedding. Tim had tried to stay there because he knew we were staying there, but it was full. So those darn weddings. They were also doing a lot of construction on the venue, like they were remodeling it. So um, one of the elevators was down, but it was just broken. So these guys would get on the elevators with 2 rolls of carpet. I do have to say, I tried to nap when we got there Friday afternoon, and then there was drilling on the floor below me. So that was a little disruptive, but it was no near nothing like, the quality and adventure I have high hopes when I stay in my Marriott, so it turned out well. But yeah, Pete and I drove over there, stopped and got a couple beverages and some snacks along the way. Got to the I don't remember what it's called, the inn, and it was a really nice setup. It's unfortunate. I think that the venue had changed hands recently, so that's why they didn't have like the restaurant and some of the things that maybe had been initially shared with Todd and Mike. But it was a great place because the place we were in was like a back room, had a big, beautiful bar in it and everything. And it was perfect size for us.
Hmm.
And that's where, I saw people like, who else did I see? And I apologize, they might have been there the night before. I think Sam Luptek was there the night before. Um, uh, Chris and Kevin from somewhere, New Jersey-ish. Um, Kevin Knipe was there, and he brought a lot of his awesome, crazy cards. Loud and Noxious, our friend Jack, showed up a little bit later because we had taken a picture of Tim, Mike, Kirk, and myself as people who'd been at the first GalactiCon. Then we had to retake it when Jack got there because he was also at the first GalactiCon. So, yeah, it was cool. Kevin had a big crazy card setup, and I grabbed one of his great Kabuki cards. This was his first Legends. If you kind of discount the Road Warriors, we'll say it was labeled as number one. Um, and I bought one. I'm like, hey Pete, you want one of these? You driving me around? Okay, so I bought one. Then I got one for Tim. I'm like, oh, I should probably get him for Corey and Stu. I'm like, I should probably get them for Matt Johnson and Grant. So I end up buying like 7 of them. And then Kevin goes later, yeah, somebody came and bought them all. Somebody was talking to Kevin. Did somebody buy them all to resell them? And he's like, no, Chad just bought them all for his friends. I'm like, yeah, I'm friendly that way. They were very affordable. And then he had the last copy printed up of he had done a legend set with a lot of turn of the century, 2 centuries ago, I guess. Characters like Clara Mortensen. Who else was in there? It was just really cool. And I hadn't purchased any crazy cards in I hadn't seen Kevin in 25 years probably. So they're kind of almost self-laminated now, and they have rounded corners. So I know that might bug you a little bit, Grant, but I think you'll like the Kabuki card.
No, I
So
appreciate it. I'm excited.
yeah. So we started. They started with the tournament. Um, oh, Troy was there, and of course, he was doing some tournaments. The the Molesky children were there playing, so it was good to see those guys. And I apologize if I'm blanking on anybody else. There were quite a few people. I'd say there's about 20, 25 or so. Um, oh, Jim Steele, he was there Friday night. I ran into Jim. It was good to see him. I hadn't seen him for a while, and he's doing good. So yeah, they did a couple tournaments, and um, I think it got down to um, Grant, I'm woefully underprepared. I didn't write down who won the tournaments. I think Black Terror won the Champions tournament.
Yes, that I know
Um,
because he won on the West Coast too. So Tom
that's
was
cool.
very surprised that
Hmm.
that he won on both coasts. So
I'm only surprised that Starburst didn't win. Man, that guy's
yeah,
had a card.
yeah.
And then they did. What did they do? They did TNT Hall of Fame. Oh yeah, and Vern Gagne beat Greg Gagne in the finals. So fitting. Vern can't put his kid over, but it was June. It's Father Day month. Greg's being nice to his dad.
Yeah. Yeah, we had our out on the West Coast. We were at Geeky Teas and Games in Burbank. That was the name of the place, and we had they moved to this place, which is it's like almost like a industrial warehouse, but it's set up so amazing. And
Wow.
when you walk in the front door, it's like, oh, this is, it's like a gaming store, and there's everything, and
Right.
then there's hallways that lead off from the main
Oh,
gaming
cool.
store, and you're kind of wandering around this place, and then when I got there, it was free RPG day, so there was literally a line out the front door around the corner of the building. And I just walked up to the front and I thought, oh, everyone's going to get mad at me because they think I'm cutting in line right when the store opened. And I just said, oh, I'm having an event in in the teapot room. That's what they call it. But, your event space. And a very nice Xander was the person at the door, was like, oh, come with me, follow me. You don't have to wait in this line. Come with me. And then took me on this winding, crazy path and then through all these doorways. And then it was into this great room. The room wasn't, it very much reminded me of like a soundstage, and they do film things in there because it had the soundproofing on the walls, and it's not like made up like where you're walking into a beautiful room. It's a very industrial type room. But they had everything set up. They had tables set up. They had like even a table for snacks, because my wife bought a bunch of snacks for us to have throughout the day. And then later that would be the pizza table. And there was like kind of an area set up for Tom. And then there was an area where I could hook my computer up to the projector and we could connect to. So it was very incredibly set up. And then there was also like this other private entrance, but they told us, you can't leave that open because it is free RPG day and people will just come through that door. They go, you can come in and out of here, but you have to have somebody kind of stand in here, because if not, we'll have people coming in and then they have a very, rigid flow of traffic for the people coming in to get the free RPG stuff. And if people came in from this way, it would mess everything up. So, anyway, it was really great. And we started with the panels because our, the place opened at 11 and then the panels were starting at noon our time, 3 East Coast. So we just had time to get in and hang out. And it was really great because I think 3 people bought tickets at the last minute, like Thursday, Thursday or Friday. So we wound up having 11 people total, and it was a nice surprise, because I thought like, oh, if there's 7 people here, that'll be great. And then all of a sudden there was 11 people there, and it was a lot of fun. And so, it was small enough where I could remember who was there. Bear 805 was there. Carl Zilla, it was great to see him. He was in from New Mexico. Meet him in person. Zeke, of course. The other Grant G, who lives down in Orange County. Rick was there. Chris L. and Ben, who didn't know that the event was happening until he saw Tom Filsinger's name on the guest list of the hotel that he works at, because that's where Tom was staying. And he was like, wait, Tom's here. Why is Tom? And then he looked up and he was like, oh, they're having an event. And he's come to a GalactiCon before, but for whatever reason, he didn't know this was happening. And he's got this crazy schedule. So he's like, oh, I could only be here for a few hours, but I definitely wanted to come. And then, of course, Tom was there, and then Tom's brother-in-law showed up for a while too on Saturday.
Okay.
So that's who was in attendance there, and then we started the panels. And I have to say, the highlight of the panel for me, and I know everybody, at least out watching, was your interview with the one and only Ken Resnick. Everybody really liked that out in Southern California. There was a lot of laughs during that interview.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that was a nice honor. Todd had asked me if I could do the interview, like a month and a half ago, but I don't think I found out at the time. I didn't know it was Ken Resnick, and we're honoring him next weekend in Waterloo for the Trago Says Hall of Fame. So I really enjoyed being able to chat with somebody that I grew up watching, both in the AWA and in the WWF, and was excited to, just chat with him. And, he corrected me a couple times because I called him Mr. Resnick, but that was, it was a fun time. It was a good honor. So hopefully, I know they recorded it. Hopefully they'll release that on Roll Up or something, or we can do it, release it for him on Uncharted Taerritory, because that was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, it was a great interview, and just great stories, and from somebody who necessarily you wouldn't hear, getting a big interview, because he interviews other people, and so it's not somebody you would hear, and so it was great to hear about his career. And did you have like a surprising moment from the interview, if you can remember, like of something where you're like, oh wow, I didn't know
Well, the whole thing that he went to the same high school as Gordon Soley,
Yeah.
that like blew me away. I if I knew Gordon Soley was from Minnesota, I had forgotten it, you know. But then it's kind of funny because I was going through some old books. Yeah, yesterday. We're recording this on July 4th, so yesterday on the 3rd, I had the day off. I just gotten back from my conference on the 2nd, so I'm like, I'm not doing anything today. I was reading some old books, and I was reading an old Pro Wrestling Torch annual I had, and there's an interview with Gordon Soley. He's like, oh yeah, and blah blah blah. I'm from Minnesota, so that was crazy because for one high school to have two Tragos Thez winners who are won the same award for broadcasting, that's not going to happen again.
Yeah. If you want to be a broadcaster in wrestling, you got to go to that high school and drink the water, apparently, because
Yeah,
there's
yeah. I
something.
think it was Minneapolis South or something. He said.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was really, really great. And in addition, we had the panels, with Tom. Tom did his Q&A,
Mm-hmm.
which actually, I'm thinking about it now. I had a question for Tom. I shouldn't have even brought this up because I was thinking like immediately after on Sunday, I was like, oh, that would have been a good question, but I can't remember what it is now. It'll come up, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure when I talk to Tom and we break down the new set, I can ask him there.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I love, it's like we had the set with you, we had the panel with the Legends team, we had the panel
Mm-hmm.
with Tom. Zeke woke up and joined for
Mm-hmm.
the. It was so funny because that morning I messaged Zeke and I go, "Hey, do you want to ride over to the thing?" And he didn't reply. And I go, "I bet he's sleeping in. I bet he's."
Mm-hmm.
So that was very funny. And he eventually did make his way over to Geeky Teas after the panel.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like is the panels, and you kind of joked about it in the Legends panel, is you're not talking about the next set. We're just enjoying these sets that have just come out,
Yep.
and we're not. There were a few little things. Like Tom really wanted to get out that there will be a CAC set, and
Mm-hmm.
like you kind of talked about forced the poll for
Right.
the promoter prime thing, but we're not. There's no teases. There's no artwork to show. There's no releases, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to just talk about the sets we have, and let's do that. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame set. I believe
Mm-hmm.
if I did know my Roman numerals, this is set 7 of the
Yep.
TNT Hall of Fame set. So we got the Ganyas in there. Is that
Mm-hmm.
that your headliners for this set?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they are. I think growing up in the AWA territory, Vern Gagne was this larger than life personality. I always liked, the Craig Gagne and Jim Brunzell High Flyers tag team. So I was very excited to have them in the set. So it and Vern was a guy we play tested a lot, um, because we wanted to be kind of just right, and I think the results, we tinkered with the card a bit as we were um, doing that plays testing, and I think we wound up with a pretty good version of him. So let's see. Then we had Tito Santana, we signed last year, and immediately Tim Dalton, upon receiving the card, was giving me grief about his finisher ratings. I'm like, okay, maybe. So he
You
was
can't complain.
hard
Oh,
to
I guess he
set.
can't complain now because he's not on the
He
team.
can complain now, right? Right. He
Yeah.
goes, "Oh, if I was still on the team, I would have stopped that." I'm like, "Oh, maybe." Well, he quit. So, um, because when I started watching WWF, he was the Intercontinental Champion. He was like the second in line to Hogan, and he wrestled and defended against a lot of the guys that Hogan did and beat him. Greg Valentine, Morocco, Randy Savage, until he dropped the strap to him.
Hmm.
Um, so it'll be fun to have him. People asked, "Oh, if we get Rick Martel, is this like built to be a Strike Force card?" No, not absolutely not. No, it's not. It's not built for that. It'll be this is your WWF Intercontinental 85, 86 Tito Santana.
Yeah.
Um, then we have, let's see, we have the Fuller Welch family. So we had Ron Fuller and Roy Lee Welch, and that was a lot of fun to do because I knew who Roy Lee Welch was. He was one of the descendants of Roy Welch, the founder of the whole family. But I had not watched any footage of him. So I went down a rabbit hole one afternoon watching him, and he had a very different style as a face versus heel. And I would say he was a little more successful as a heel. Um, he wasn't he wasn't a complete preliminary wrestler as a face, but like in WWF terms, if there was a tag team match, he'd be the JD or SD Jones or Lanny Poffo, the guy who didn't drop the fall on the tag team, whereas
Hmm.
there might be a lower guy. That's kind of where Roy Lee was as a face. As a heel, he actually had a pretty successful run as he called himself the king of wrestling. He came out with the crown and everything, just like Jerry Lawler. So it's like, well, we need to maybe have different stats because he was winning with a different finisher. And he's not a guy I would see that would ever make a completely separate card for. Let's see, who else do we have in the
Well,
set?
I will say about Roy Lee Welch is I
Oh yeah.
helped run some of the online tournaments on Sunday,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and Roy Lee Welch, I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on who had him in the tournament, but I said,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to wrestle as a face or as a rule breaker?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, oh well, let's just try rule breaker. Like he looked at the card, but he was
Mm-hmm.
like, let's just try rule. He went all the way to the finals. I think he did get
That's
beat
awesome.
in the finals, but at the start of every match, I go, do you want rule breaker? Definitely rule
Oh
breaker,
yeah.
which was risky because, there are DQs
Mm-hmm.
in the early rounds, but, he got lucky rolls. So yeah, just want to say about that card. And I want to say personally, I don't know much about Ron Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
After this card was announced, I started looking up some of his promos and stuff. And he is
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
somebody who I can see using in my sort of Oregon Fed to just come in for a
Mm-hmm.
month and be a tough guy and see how he
Mm-hmm.
does and stuff like that. So that is somebody certainly who I didn't know about, who I'm certainly excited to use.
And I mean, as always, that's the cool thing about Legends and getting familiar with someone you never heard of or maybe have limited knowledge of before. And
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear about Roy Lee Welch. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That card did very, very well
Mm-hmm.
in the tournament.
So then next we have Judo Gene LaBelle, and we did get his coloring corrected on both his gi and his hair. And he was fun to research too. He was somebody I was very familiar with. I got to meet him when he was inducted to the Hall of Fame, but again, I hadn't seen a lot of his matches, and it was it was easier to find French Angel footage than it was Gene LaBelle footage, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, given their different times that they wrestled. But that's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah.
I did find a video. It was like a 45-minute instructional video on how to be a pro wrestler, where he's doing all sorts of wrestling moves. I believe he was wrestling Mondo Guerrero. It was one of the older Guerrero brothers, either Chavo or Mondo, but I think it was Mondo. Um, Putting him in all these different holds, but still like it was a shoot. So it was kind of interesting. So that kind of flavored some of his card. I know Carl Zilla had did a bootleg of him just a couple months earlier, and I don't like looking at bootlegs of a guy unless I absolutely have to, because I don't want to inadvertently rip anybody off. And I always, will tell people, hey, I had to look at yours just for some moves and stuff. So hopefully people like him. Um, and let's see, then we have Ken Resnick, of course. Corey made up the back for that card. I'm excited to use it because I had really nothing to do with it. I just helped proofread it.
Hmm.
So that turned out pretty good. And then the last card was
Bob Geigel.
Bob Geiger. Oh my gosh, Iowa's own, Algona's own, birthplace of Bob Geigel and my good buddy TS aggressor Travis Shillington. Um, he was fun. He didn't have a lot of footage, but he had at least one match where it was, back in the early days of wrestling on television, they'd do 2 out of 3 falls preliminary matches. And even though, you know, the bigger stars going over in 2 falls, at least you see some of their move sets. So that's kind of
Hmm.
like in the AWA, they'd always have 2 out of 3 falls tag team matches, and each partner of the higher ranked team would win a fall with their finisher. So Bob was fun to create. I'd met him a couple times, both at his induction weekend and at the CAC, and just a very honorable man. And we have somebody who's served in a capacity as NWA president. So maybe now we can get kind of an official Legends of Wrestling board president commissioner card and satisfy a lot of people, or a booking card or something like that.
Yeah, I was. I don't know if he won, but I know he went very far in the Burbank tournament. That
Cool.
card did really well,
Hmm.
and I know it was Ben. Ben said, "Oh, I need a dice to track his fatigue. A Geigel counter."
Hmm. Oh dear,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So,
That is
uh,
amazing. We should have named one of his reversals Geigel counter.
a
That was a
Geigel
lost
counter. Yeah.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely had to say that. Yeah, this is a great set. I'm looking forward to using Tito Santana
Hmm.
and the other ones and everybody in my my Hollywood Elite Wrestling
Hmm.
Federation. But yeah, it was a great set. And you mentioned Maurice Tillet, so let's talk about
Hmm.
the Promoter Prime, because I will say that on Friday night when I was kind of doing my live stream,
Hmm.
I was relying on the chat to help me because I knew Maurice Tillet, the French Angel, because we had the card
Right.
before, but Duke Kiyomuka and Ken Jugan,
Hmm.
I was completely in the dark about. So if you want to
Hmm.
talk about these two gentlemen, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So Duke Kimuka is the father of Pat Tanaka, and when Barry Walsh signed Bad Company, he also signed Duke through Pat, and he was kind of the stereotypical of the time Japanese heel. He teamed a lot with Hiro Matsuda, and it was really strange because I laid out his card and then got out Hero stats, and they were very similar, almost identical. Um, and I'm like, well, nobody's ever going to tag Duke in because I had made his finisher one lower. So what we did is they did a lot of like double teams in the corner, and like they'd chop the guy or they'd all kick the guy. So it's kind of a vague double team attack, as the finisher. But I gave that a +1, so there would be a reason to bring him in, because otherwise Hero had a slightly stronger level 1, level 2, and level 3. But I think they'd be a good tag team. And actually, later in their careers, they were faces down in Florida. But you could bring them in, feud them with Mike and Eddie Graham, and then maybe have them turn or something.
Excellent. And unless I am mistaken, Ken Jugan is
Hmm.
Lord Zoltan. Is that correct?
He is.
Yeah.
He is. But he was also, he never wrestled as Lord Zoltan in the WWF, but he was Ken Yugen as a preliminary wrestler on WWF TV. So he had a match with Iron Sheik when the Sheik was in his very brief reign as WWF champion. And I believe he might have been wrestling the Sheik when Sheik and Slaughter bumped into each other in the aisleway and had, what led to their famous feud. So he's been in there with quite a few famous people.
Yeah.
And he comes, Pro Prime for June out of any of them is very regimented, because we tried to do somebody, a father or maybe a son, for the Father's Day thing in June. Um, and sometimes we'll bring in a father and son, and we do like to, the last couple of years, honor somebody who attends the Tragos Thesz Hall of Fame. So kind of like the CAC set, but the CAC set can be a lot more broad because they have many more awards. They recognize, back in the day, multiple honorees. So Ken Yugen's been a great supporter and everything. So I'm like, let's, and I had asked him about this a couple of years ago. I go, can we do you as a preliminary wrestler as well? And he said, fine. So that's what we did. We wanted to honor him that way. He's been fighting cancer the last few years, but he still shows up to the TNT Hall of Fame, and just want to again shed some light on some wrestlers that maybe people haven't heard.
Well, and I know that when when I was showing his card, the people were very excited that it's another sort of preliminary wrestler,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
always use more of those
Hmm.
in the Fed, and I think that's perfect for Pro Prime. So, yeah, great, very. Yeah, great names there. And we also had the best, women of the Indies. It's not a best of. I mean, I guess it sort of is, but it's women of the Indies set, which had a lot of
Right.
fun names in it as well. I did pick up that set. I'm not 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard by the Ash by Elegance and M by Elegance. I've heard of them on wrestling
Mm-hmm.
news reports, but that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much how I did. But it seems to be another great set by Zeke and Ty and Barry too, who
Mm-hmm.
did some of the signings for that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that looks to be another great set as well.
Yeah, so Barry signed Abaddon while he was in town for River Rumble last fall. They were wrestling on a show about an hour and a half away. Um, and he asked if anybody wanted to go with. I'm like, dude, it took me 3 hours to drive here. I don't want to add another 3 hour round trip, and I want to hang out. So he stepped out for a while and was very excited to get that signing. And I know Maggie Lee, she's from Iowa, and I think we've maybe had her on an Impact Pro Wrestling show, maybe like a fair show or something where we didn't. I know it wasn't in like one of our standard places to work, but I feel like when we ran a show somewhere, she was in our locker room. And and then Heather Reckless is somebody I'm also familiar with. Um, I I know she's been in the Midwest, as well as Sierra, who's out of Minneapolis, but and she was in the Pro Prime. So yeah, I think they did a great job with those. And again, it's just another way for people to learn about wrestlers they may not have heard of before.
Yeah.
And then of course, and the other one in Pro Prime was the lone male, Tyler Bateman, who I came to know through your Championship Wrestling from Hollywood sets and GalactiCon cards.
Yeah, yeah, I worked with him at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Always a super nice guy. Somebody who was just like very dedicated to his character. I just remember at the time
Mm-hmm.
he was 100% into his character, and I'm saying that in a very complimentary way. Somebody who was
Right,
just like,
right.
I know what I am. I know what this is. I am, this, because back then I think it was a little bit more like, evil carnival
Yeah,
guy, like step up and see if you can fight me type thing.
right.
And I haven't seen him. I know he's in FSW. I haven't seen him
Mm-hmm.
wrestle lately, but just very. He was a good guy. He was a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
one of the first guys I think in a promo to grab my lapels and really get in my face. And I was just like, okay, don't just,
Right,
don't break, because I didn't know that was going to happen. Um,
right.
but super super nice guy. And then we should just mention as well the COTG Prime,
Right.
which was the first cycle because of the way it's working this
Mm-hmm.
year. We got Trent Tomorrow, Luna Explorer, and Madison Square Garden Center, which I think was
Mm-hmm.
fun. And I will show off. You mentioned earlier that I got these drafts that have notes
Right.
on them. In the auction that Tom had brought, and the one that has the most kind of notes on it was Trent Tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and Luna Explorer does have two. But what I noticed was Trent sort of got an upgrade a little bit, as far as like I'm not an expert in making cards, but as far as I can tell,
Right.
but like his pin rating went from 8.5 to 7.4. He
Mm-hmm.
lost a down 3 on level 3 defense and became a hurt 2. But he grew an inch, because he went from 6'2 to 6'3 and 223 pounds to 238 pounds. So he got a little bit of a bump
Must have been
there.
working out in the interim.
Yeah, yeah. And his agility got better. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting. And I think it's fun to have. I like these characters. And I think the art was by Tom Rickert. I had questions at the start, like who did the artwork. But Tom said that it was Tom Rickert who did the artwork. And yeah, just fun to have these sort of, we talked about preliminary wrestlers, these
Right.
preliminary wrestlers for COTG as well.
Yeah, I did tease Tom when I proofread those. I'm like, you could have called it Minskoff Square Garden in honor of our friend Steve Minskoff. Um, and I'm not sure what also put the center. Maybe he's just trying to avoid any copyright infringement with the Madison Square Garden Center.
Yeah.
But I think, it shows how much, especially with the fictional guys, you could just do the stats and be happy. But Tom's review process is so much where he's moving the needle up and down with guys, changing their weight by an inch. I mean, he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But I remember when I used to review for Tom, and this was like in the 2109, 2110 era, I would get stuff faxed to me from Bob Hoffa, and it was still the big pictures like that. And, some of it would already have notes all over it. So it's cool to see how his mind works with those.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because a lot of the other ones here, I think these are from late in the review process because there's not much, it's mostly just proofready type stuff. Like, oh, can we make this color a different so it contrasts more, or there should be a comma here. But for the most part, it's fun to see like the Trent Tomorrow one where there is so much changes on the back of his card. Did you play in any tournaments during the GalactiCon?
I didn't play on any Saturday, but then on Sunday I was in the Canada Comp, and it was more of a early classics focus cup, although there were some, 2086 guys just because there might not have been enough, I think. And I got KL Keller. And, everybody's like, oh, you got a really good card. And so, like I didn't know who KL Keller was. I'm like, well, I know who KL Keller is. I do know the early classics a little better.
Yeah.
And I laid an egg. I got DQ'd twice, counted out once, and then pinned. So I went winless in my bracket. And I don't remember who won the whole thing. But that was kind of fun, as much as I try to avoid playing. And I don't do it because I don't like the game. I'd rather just sit and visit people because I don't get the opportunity to see them. And, if I space out when I'm rolling a chart by myself, it doesn't matter, and then people are like, okay, go, So, but I did play in that. And, Todd was logged into the online convention as well. So I could hear results every once in a while as it was kind of, near the laptop. So that was, that was fun to just kind of interact that way.
Yeah.
And then, the one thing I want to talk about, I know you've done a review of this, is the GalactiCon giveaways.
Oh yeah. They were on my list to chat about too. Yeah. Let's talk about those.
Okay. Because the thing to me, the one that just kind of blew me away was Chuck Carter's version of Shane. And the reason why is I think it looks very much like Randy Bugdale's artwork that, and he did our NGO sets. It doesn't have the heavy, stipling, of course. But when I saw that, I'm like, my first thought went to Bugdale. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Carter drawing a modern character. So that was really cool.
Yeah. That is one of my favorite cards. And it was funny because on Friday night, when Tom was, handing out cards to Zeke and I, he said, well, one of the cards is I had Chuck draw a modern character. And then he goes, do you know who it is? And I go, no, but I know who I hope it is. And he goes, oh, you have a thing? And I go, I do. I don't know who it is, but I hope, because I hope it's Shane, because Shane is my favorite character in the modern.
Right.
And then he was like, all right, well, we'll get it. And he starts digging in the box, and he was like, and I just saw like he brought up a card, and I could see in black and white where it said Shane, and he wasn't bringing that card up yet. And I was like, oh, in my head, I was like, it is Shane. And then to see it, and it's such a great card. It's the artwork is fantastic. And it almost looks like a little evil, like a little like, like
looks sinister.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, so I was very excited for that card. I don't know, I'll have to find a place to use it, but maybe I'll get out those Secret History sets and see how Shane does against the Secret History guys. We also got cards for Harker Dirge and Storm Rider. Can I just say, and I know you're on the Legends team, and I know you already know this, but I'm just going to say it publicly. If we get all of those early Legends before Legends of the Future, all of those like Harker Dirge, Timber, the Insane Lumberjack, Trinity Danucci, if we eventually get all of those in color, I will be so happy, because in the early days, they were part of my Legends Fed, even though,
Sure.
they were not anybody who I'd ever heard of before, but they really were
Right.
part of my Legends Fed. So, yeah, can you talk about those? Because they do have the Legends logo on them as well. So, about how those cards came about.
So we'd been talking, with Todd and Mike over the past year or so about, you know, redoing Harker and making a card for Storm Rider, because Mark Taggart had made a Storm Rider card in one of his bootleg sets many years ago, but it was a Champions type set, and the whole. I had met Mark a couple times, right? He'd come to Icon, one of Eric Kanishi's gaming things, at least once. But like, we never knew he had a twin brother who also played the game and who was Harker Dirge. We had no idea. So when he showed up, the one year of the Hall of Fame, and oh, I have brother Matt too. I'm like, what? I'm like, it was just like the greatest reveal of all time, way better than the Alpha Stone. Um, but they're great guys. They're very active members of the community, and we just wanted to honor them by doing cards. And those kind of fell in this weird, are they legends? Are they indies? And it's like, let's just make cards for them. And they can be, it doesn't really matter what the stamp on the back says. I think they'll be compatible in either promotion. Um, you know, Harker did wrestle for the Sheik. He did hold the same U.S. title that the Sheik held. So it's like, well, maybe he's a little more legendy than, I mean, he's kind of in that weird Tim Storm
Yeah.
era where, you just don't know where to put him. So regardless, wherever you put him, I think you'll have fun with him. It's great to make a card for Mark too. Um, the funny thing is about those cards, we never made those cards. I don't know who made them. So like Timber, like the first Harker Dirge, who else? The Belgian Brawler,
Yeah.
Rupa
Yeah.
Rupa.
Yeah. He was big in my
Um,
Fed too. Yeah.
yeah. Trinity Ducci. I don't know who made those. I don't know if it was um Todd or Chris Osk or John Napick helped with the Legends of the Future sets. I have no idea. Because I'd get those cards. I'm like, who the heck is this? I was the same way as you all.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we can't, because the thing about Timber, I always thought you could bring him in, even if you weren't running Legends, you could bring him into your COTG as Earthquake or Chopper-Matic's son, who's,
Yeah.
on the same evil side that his dad was towards the end.
Well,
So,
I think you could bring Harker Dirge and Storm Rider into COTG too, like,
oh, absolutely.
you
Hey,
know,
maybe they're for your 1965 Fed.
yeah, I mean, he was talking about how his spikes and everything were very inspired by the gladiators. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, you could definitely bring them in. The final card, which was the cool foilish card,
Yep.
was
Mm-hmm.
we got Lou Thez on the Tragos Thez Hall of Fame background. And can you talk a little bit about, I know you talked about this at GalactiCon, but talk a little bit about the stats for this and how the
Mm-hmm.
stats were tweaked for this card.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a championship edition, although we didn't come out and say that on the card like we did with Bruno's a couple of years ago. I would say this is very similar to that this would be, if Luthez won the title in your Fed, you would use these championship edition stats because they're just a little bit better. We did tweak his card a little bit, but it was just important to me, and I'd like to do this at some point. And I'm not even saying through the main Tragos Fez line. Maybe we do it as a special starter pack. Guys like Harley Race, Nick Bockwinkel, Red Basteen, Luthez, who are in the Hall of Fame, who have um, who are not on a Hall of Fame background. And I know some people don't care about that. So just humor me. I think it'd be a cool way to honor them. And like I said, I think it'd be really neat if we had it on sale at the museum,
For sure.
or read, do some special reshuffling of the things and they sell at the museum and it's maybe a different lineup, and you get maybe like 12, 16 guys. And this is just me talking off the cuff. But I had talked, it's like, let's get Lou on the background. And then the other cool thing is we colorized some Steve Stanley art from Lou's original black and white card, and kind of zoomed in on him, because that one he's sitting, he's a little farther away. It's a full body shot. Kind of zoomed in on it and um, colorized it, and so it's the first Legends card where we used black and white artwork from prior release and brought that in there. And that's no difference to Werner. It was just a decision to just kind of do something different and make it kind of a collectible.
Yeah. Well, and I know people were very excited because where the Bruno one was an in-person exclusive for, right, wasn't it, for people who came to that GalactiCon. People were very excited that this one was, if you bought a ticket, you always say if you buy a ticket, you get the card, and this is one of the cards that you got. So people were very excited for that.
I could be wrong, and I don't know because I was there in person. Were there any in-person exclusives? Were they all just...
Yes, it was Mailman Mutant.
Oh, yes, Mailman Mutant.
Yes. So, which had a lot, which it was very funny because I guess Tom hadn't looked at the back of the card. Like he had seen, Mailman Mutant. And he started, like, he was laughing. Each move name, Package Destroyer, whatever it is, like, was just making him laugh and laugh and laugh, as he read it. So, that was a fun one. We have enough of those now. Maybe I got to do Mailman Mutant versus Killing Machine, a.k.a. Bounty Hunter, that card. But yeah, some
Ultramanus Black Santa or something like those cards. I would never use them, but they're fun to have.
Yeah. I do think that it was, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, it was good to have that as the in-person card because that card is not necessarily, and I don't mean this in an insulting way, it's not an important card. Where I think if you had the championship Lou Thez as the in-person thing, you would have people who were upset that they had to be there to get that card. Like, I don't think anybody was upset pounding on the floor they couldn't get the Bruno Sammartino, but I know that when it comes up on auction, people want it, and so I think that the Mailman Mutant card is a good card to have for the in-person because it's like, okay, that's the one I didn't get, but it's my collection doesn't fall apart if I don't have that card.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%.
I will say one thing we did. I did not get to play in many of the tournaments just because I was running the tournaments. I was channeling my inner Todd, the tournament master. But it was a lot of fun. I will say that Todd had these like big, I think the Champions of the Galaxy was like 32 man, 32 person tournament. And I did cut out all the names and I did get them, or 24, however big it was. I did cut out the names. And I was just like, I could do the thing where if you lose, you can get another one or whatever. But it's like, we're just going to have the tournament. And in order to get through all the tournaments, we're just going to there'll be 8-person tournaments. So we did that. But one of the fun things we did, and I wanted to talk about this because I didn't know how it was going to work and it seemed to work fine. Was we had a battle royal because one of the things we normally have at GalactiCal events is we have a championship wrestling from Hollywood, tournament. And I was like, well, what if we did a battle royal with the championship wrestling from Hollywood guys? And then I was thinking about later, I was like, these aren't official. Like a lot of these are not official cards. So I don't know if, for GalactiCon tournaments, if you cannot use, you're using bootlegs, but I will say everybody chose official cards. And so the tournament was like people, and I think it was actually Tom who picked that special edition Hobo that we did. That was a fundraiser for Feeding America. But I was like, well, Hobo was in it was in the first set. So it's still, this is just his championship version anyway, but we're doing a battle royal. So, what matters is the out of the ring, because if you have more out of the rings on your card, then you have a better chance of throwing somebody out. And it played really quickly. I thought I thought this had the potential of being something where it went on and on. It played super quick. And so and I kind of like the idea of the West Coast, the San Francisco used to have the big battle royal. Yeah. And it's like,
so did LA. Yeah.
If we do this again, that would be fun to do is that's our little thing, is to do this battle royal. So,
Was it the regular rules or was it the red carpet rumble rules?
It was just the regular rules. It was just
Yep.
the if you
Yep.
either pin or finish. And then we did kind of talk about could we do the thing where somebody can save you? I don't think we had necessarily
Hmm.
enough people to do that where somebody was
Yeah.
standing around waiting for a match.
Right.
But I did like the idea of like, here's your guys, go challenge somebody. Like it wasn't,
Right.
it wasn't like, okay, you two are paired up with each other, you two are paired up with each other. It was
Right.
like, go challenge, and then if you throw somebody out, look for somebody else to challenge.
That's awesome.
So it went really well. And the other thing I will say, and who knows what's going to happen in the future, but at the end of the day, I think Tom really liked the event in Burbank,
Hmm.
and he was kind of
Good.
going, well, next year when we do this, we should do da 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 da. So,
Hmm.
who knows? Who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
we'll. I'm certainly down to spearhead it again because it was a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And again, shout out to my wife Suzanne, because she sent me off to Geeky Teas with like a big tray of cookies and chips and peanut butter crackers and all this other stuff, and then a
Nice.
huge cooler filled with
Hmm.
soda and water and all this other stuff,
Hmm.
and then. It was. I think it might have been during the chat with Ken Resnick. She just came
Hmm.
through the door with big, stacks of pizza, and we had tons and tons of
Hmm.
pizza. So everybody was fed very well, and she was like, "Everyone's going to have as much pizza as they want." That was her thing. So
Yep.
it was very cool, and so a big shout out to her as well. And then our just little wrap up at the end, because we only went Saturday. That was our only day. Bear 805 was our big winner. Ben was the runner up. We did send two people from California to the Galacticon tournament. Unfortunately,
Hmm.
Ben was working, and so I kind of filled in for Ben. And unfortunately, Ben, I picked Luthez, but did not do well in the tournament. But
Hmm.
so that was a lot of fun, and just Tom and Carl Zilla and I all went out to dinner afterwards after
Hmm.
the event, and I know that Rick and Zeke went to the GCW show and had a great
Hmm.
time. And then Sunday afternoon, actually before Zeke went to the airport, I went and had lunch with Zeke and hung out with him a little bit before he took his plane.
Hmm.
So it was a great weekend out here in Burbank, and I'm certainly up 100% if it's decided that we would do it again. I would do it again. I think the
Hmm.
venue was great. I mean, uh, they really took care of us and had
Hmm.
everything. There was no tech issues. It was just like, here's the Wi-Fi. Here is the plug-in to plug in
Nice.
your laptop for the projector, and I think we might even have more people next year. If we
Hmm.
did do another West Coast one. So, how about
I
you? How
want to
was
give
your wrap up of Galacticon, the event itself?
Well, again, shout out to Todd and Mike for their hospitality. And Todd, I kept checking in on him to see how he's doing because a lot of folks will check on me during the Tragos Thez week to make sure I'm eating and staying hydrated. And we also had pizza. We also had plenty of pizza. And we had some snacks and beverages and stuff too. So it was a nice setup. So then on Sunday we gathered back at the facility. We were not in that main meeting room we'd been before. We were on this kind of sun porch, so it got a little warm. But wrapped up, and I believe Joey Molesky was the Galactic Cup winner, which was cool. Not showing bias to Mike's son, but he's a little kid. It's cool, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So then when he won, I picked him up and put him on my shoulder, and we did the chants and had him grab the belt and the cup. So and he won with Andre the Giant, who I think had been the bridesmaid in that tournament a couple of times. So good to have a Legends guy win that tournament. And then we loaded up, and Pete took me. We went back, stopped at his house, got to see his wife Lori and talked to her for a little bit. I had some packages for my concert delivered to their house, so I didn't have to carry them in my luggage. And then he dropped me off at National Harbor at the convention center, and then that started my week of adventure there. So I've been very detached from social media. So I'm excited this weekend. I might go in and look and see what people think of the sets and everything, and
Hmm.
read up on that because I have not looked. at much at all. I haven't been on Discord, just peeked at the Filsinger board a little bit. So
Yeah. Well,
I
let's
hope everybody likes the sets.
yeah, thank you so much for chatting about
Hmm.
GalactiCon, and we'll do more wrap ups like this when
Hmm.
there are more events. But one thing I do want to ask you about, and we don't have to spend an hour talking about this, although we could.
Hmm.
But another thing happened the week before GalactiCon, and because we cover everything here on the Solo Promoter channel, that is Go.Fight.POW and the
Oh
mailing of
yeah.
all the Kickstarter stuff. And
Hmm.
you and I have already done some trades, and I've been sending
Yep.
out. The other day, I told Suzanne when she had the day off, I was like, we got to go by the post office because I got to mail out my trades for the thing. But
Hmm.
what are your thoughts on the Go.Fight.POW Regional Rumble, which at the time of this recording, if you missed out on the Kickstarter, you can go to the Go.Fight.POW website and pick up packs because any extra packs are now up on the website. So, but anyway, I interrupted. What are your thoughts
No,
on the Regional Rumble?
I mean, I think it's amazing how Eric puts out all this content and in the Kickstarter and gets people so excited about it. We've traded before I went out to Galacticon. I messaged Pete, and he had just got his cards because I had had mine for about a week and a half because I got them in person. And I'm like, tell me what you need and I will bring it. And, so we did a swap and he had a foil. I didn't get any foils. I got two of the 7 of 7s, but I got no foils in any of mine. So I got a foil from him. I got a couple from you, and I appreciate that. And I'll send yours back out. And I think it's cool. The little plastic case with our names on it
Yeah,
that has an entire set. That's neat. I tease Eric about the box. I call it the Happy Meal box. I'm like, what am I going to do with this Happy Meal box, Eric? But and just like that, again, now I have a preponderance of cards that I need to. I mean, I still have so many from his first
yeah,
set of trading cards. We need to have like some kind of central repository where you can send them and he can reissue them to those. But I'm the same way. I need to go look at those boards, and if anybody needs a card, I'll certainly send them because I'm not. I'm not going to throw them away. I would
yeah,
never throw anything away because in my collecting of Superstar Pro Wrestling stuff, people threw away Super Set 85 and the AWA set, and those are ones I want to get. I have the copies of both, so I'm not pining for them, but it would be a huge hidden treasure for me to find those. So stuff like that, or when people try to get one of the first 500 champion sets, or some of these things that are out of print, even comic books. Sometimes I'll want to get rid of those, but I'm like, I'm not throwing them away. So I take them down to the comic shop where Matt Johnson works. I'm like, even if you can't give me money, just take them. Just
yeah.
sell them for $1, because I hate the thought of that. But Eric does an incredible job. It's always cool to see what he comes up with. He's very, very creative mind.
Yeah,
What do
and
you think about it? I
yeah,
know
no,
you've done videos.
yeah, I've loved it. I ordered more packs when they went on sale
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. I
Mm-hmm.
ordered more packs. So, because I love opening them, and I do feel that like, oh, I just need one more card, and maybe it'll be in these
I know.
packs, And I always keep one pack sealed, and I can see it over there, and I'm like, what if that one
Mm-hmm.
card I need is in that pack?
I
I'll never
know.
know, but I'm keeping it sealed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's super exciting, yeah, I am other thing. It's just like I have duplicates of everything. So if you need them, just reach out and I will send them to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even have to, people are like, somebody messaged me and was like, well, I need these 10 cards, but if I could just get this one and I'll send you this. I go, you don't need to send me anything. I'm going to send you these
Right.
10 cards because,
Yeah.
they're just going to sit here and I already have the full set because I, like you, got a box and
Right.
then I have built another set,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm only missing one of the lucky 7. So hopefully, knock on wood, eventually that will come out. But,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. I got to get it back on the table. What did you think about? Because you mentioned this about the other card. These cards are not rounded like the other Go.Fight.POW cards are. It doesn't matter because I put them all in sleeves anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. But
Right.
do you have any issue with that, or not that there's an issue about it? But do you have any comment
No.
on that, or because these ones
To
are
be honest,
square now, and they're
I
not
hadn't
rounded?
noticed that.
Yeah, I
I had
think.
not noticed that at
Oh,
all.
really? Yeah.
No.
So they're not the same. Because also he lost his printer, the person who was the
Yes.
company that was doing the cards before. And
Hmm.
then I think he kind of had to switch them up for to be put into packs, maybe, because the company that does
Right.
the packs does things a little differently. But anyway, I just didn't know if
Right.
you didn't even notice. So it's no, and it's not
No.
a big deal. I'm
No.
not bringing it up as a big deal. I'm just bringing it up as
No. No.
something I
No.
noticed. You know.
Yeah. So no, I had not noticed that. Maybe it's just my old age. I have a hard time even reading the backs of the cards on those anymore. But
Right.
um, I know last time he and his family assembled
Right.
all of the packs.
Yeah.
This time he smartly hired out a company.
Yeah.
So if that means those cards have don't have rounded corners, then I think it makes them unique, right? If he
Yeah.
needs to go that route in the future, because he actually invited me to his house the day that they were assembling everybody's stuff, but it was the weekend my son was moving, so I was busy helping him. It was across the state of Iowa, which is a little longer than people think. But I just think it's super cool. He started
Yeah.
this with his oldest daughter. She just graduated from high school. She's coming to Iowa State where my wife and I work. Um, and it's just taken off, and it's such a cool community, and I love the Fight Pass, his monthly releases. He always finds a way to put me on a card, much to my chagrin,
Oh, I
uh,
know. I sent him to you to get
and
autographed. I'm
embarrassment.
very
Yeah,
excited.
I will. I will. When we're done recording, I got to talk about what kind of pen you want. Uh, and
Yeah, and I was excited to see the solo promoter card too. I thought
yeah,
that was
that
very
was. I
cool.
mean, yeah, and the faction card is the merchandiser.
Yeah.
Now he used the fabulous clam without permission, so I might need to get some royalties off that one. But no, he's so creative, and he's so in touch with his community. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely check that out and check out all the
Hmm.
new Filsinger Games releases. Chad, thank you so much for being here. We've talked for close to an hour, if not over it,
Hmm.
depending on the final time. But thank you for being here and look forward to chatting with you again.
All right, thank you so much for having me, Grant. It's been an honor to be on.
Here we go.